Almost.
Welcome, everyone. Did we get here? We made it
I
okay?
think we got it.
Okay. Well, welcome to Utah Agile Presents, our first attempt at bringing some video content and conversation to you. My name is Steve Ostermiller. I'm Executive Director and founding member of Utah Agile, and here with most of the rest of our organizing team at Utah Agile. We got Corissa Peck, Reggie Gardner, and Jonathan Rabideau. And so we're excited to be here. Utah Agile, in case you're new, been around almost 10 years coming up here in Utah. We've over 2,000 members strong, even beyond the borders of Utah. And we are a Scrum Alliance user group. We're an Agile Alliance community group. We're also the Agile chapter with Silicon Slopes and a community member with scrum.org as well. So we're partnered, we're back, we're excited about working together with the broader communities here in Utah. So we're here to bring you just some conversation. And but I don't know if we want to go around the room and let you guys say a little bit more about yourselves, and then I'll turn it over to Corissa for introducing the topic and the conversation.
Yeah, well, let's start with Jonathan, then Reggie, and then I'll go.
All right. I've been volunteering with Utah Agile for 2.5, 3 years, but coming for 4. I'm a product owner at Novarad in Provo, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I'm Reggie Gardner. I've been in engineering leadership and a developer for a long time. I'm also a professional Scrum trainer with scrum.org.
Awesome. I'm Corissa Peck. I'm currently the executive director of a nonprofit called Inclusive Agile. Most of my career has been in dev and in QA throughout. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, for our inaugural discussion, I want to give just a tiny bit of background. We had a dinner a few weeks ago, and we realized that one of the things that we love most about being together as a Utah Agile team is talking about our experiences, being able to bounce ideas off of each other. And we thought it might be interesting and fun to record some of the ideas and the chatter that we have. So today we are tackling, in 15 minutes or less, the topic of is Agile dead? And we're not even defining what we mean by that question. I'd like everybody to give me their interpretations of what we think we're talking about. And then we'll just kind of go from there.
Well.
Well.
So I was like, where should I start? So I went into Microsoft Copilot, right? And I typed in, when people talk about Agile being dead, what are they talking about? Number one, it says, and again, we're just throwing this out there, misinterpretation and misapplication, overextension, process over people, and evolving needs. I think that does sum it up rather well.
It's pretty good.
What?
What are you say that again?
What? Misinterpretation and misapplication of Agile. So Agile in name only. Overextension, which is methodologies originally designed for software development, may not be effective in other environments.
Okay. Ooh, that's
process
a good one.
over people. So too much process and tools rather than people. And then evolving needs. Landscapes have evolved since the manifesto, and we need to evolve for new challenges and opportunities. I don't know.
All right,
that's pretty decent.
That's taking the tack then that Agile is dead, and this might be why. That's one interpretation of our title. Does anybody have an alternate?
I think, Reggie, you had a good one.
Well, I don't think Agile is dead. I think it's very clearly broadly used, but still broadly misinterpreted, which I think is what Jonathan was bringing up there, right? So that broad misinterpretation. Mm-hmm. I know for me, especially when I talk to like C-suite people, that's where I often see a lot of misunderstanding. So they almost always say, "Oh, you're into Scrum, you're a process guy," and like, well, actually,
anti-process guy.
I mean, yeah, kind of the opposite of that. Mostly, I mean, I like some process, but really teamwork, collaboration, simplifying process. So I want it to be developer friendly. You know, if it's something that's shoved down the developer's throat all the time, nobody wants to work like that. And I've been in plenty of organizations like that. So I see it more as just a continued misunderstanding of Agile core principles and ideas, and misapplication of those things broadly.
I think another one I've heard, and maybe it's a little bit of a elaboration on what Jonathan had read off, is that it's the Agile industrial complex type of a thing, right? The big consultancies coming in, Agile transformation type of thing. I'm billing myself as an Agile coach. And you know, a lot of conversations I've heard about this is that all these Agile coaches that called themselves that didn't know what they were doing, or only knew how to do one thing, didn't know how to lead, you know, coach leadership, coach the broader aspect of what's needed for the change.
Yeah,
That screwed it all up, right? And created a bad name, and so that's just not going to work anymore. That's another interpretation I've heard of this Agile being dead, and a lot of it I would agree with, that aspect of it.
I'm going to throw this out there though. Is Agile dead in that we are going to go back to previous methodology, pre-Agile days? Is Agile dead in that we think something is ready to replace Agile as an overall
No.
I don't want to say methodology or framework, or overall like
Philosophy.
philosophy, right? For software development. I would say no. The fact that we can have this conversation means that Agile is just the thing now. It's just the thing. It is what we do. I don't hear anybody saying that they don't do. Okay, I'm gonna lie. People say they don't do Agile, but they also don't do something else. Right? They're not going back to a waterfall specific. The it's almost kind of a false kind of a premise. Can it actually be dead if this is how we're talking about it?
That's a great question. And the only thing I can look to is what does it even mean? What does Agile even mean? The only thing I can go to is say, well, there are these 4 values and these 12 principles.
Yeah.
That's the only way I know how to define what it means, right? And there might be a variety of practices that align with those values and principles. So how do we feel about those values and principles? Are those dead?
I think this is where it gets one of the points, Jonathan. What was the one about it not being applicable outside of software?
Overextension.
Overextension. So when you go back to values and principles, those were written far more software centric.
Yes.
I even reinterpreted them recently when teaching them to somebody because I'm trying to make the point that it's not just for software, and then I try to go and say something about, you know, done working software is the most important thing. Like, you know, as from one of the, I'm saying it wrong, but like the values themselves are very software centric. Do we think though that those things are not applicable outside of software? When we say overextension, what do you guys see happening? What is an overextension of the values? Basically, I just said that I feel like I can reinterpret them into mean things outside of software. What would you feel as an overextension?
Pointing, right? So I know that Agile is used in medical environments, like at IHC, they use stand-ups in the morning when people get together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that my wife does medical social work. I don't know that they could be like, oh, this task of helping this person is going to take is 3 points worth, right? So they don't know how long it's going to take to resolve somebody's issue, to help get somebody here from another country to be with their family. So that doesn't work. But being able
Okay,
to,
but is that Agile or is that
well,
Scrum?
but being able to get together in the morning to talk through all the things that need to be done, to figure out who might not have extra things to do so that they can help each other and pair program, things like that. I mean, that all works, but there are aspects of it that don't.
like you mentioned sizing, right? Sizing how much the work's going to take place. There's a variety of ways to do that. And in some
Yeah.
cases you can't size it. That doesn't mean you are or are not following the values or the principles, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
everything you described, I'm thinking that's an adaptive, agile, nimble, even lightweight approach. And I think those are all really good synonyms for that word agile, which, I mean, it was almost the adaptive manifesto if you talk to the signers, right?
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that.
Sure, yeah, and there was a reason they chose not to go with adaptive. I think someone had already kind of branded it, but yeah, it was. It's, what does it mean? Why wouldn't I want early empirical feedback? Why wouldn't I want to embrace change? Now, where there's no change, where we can expect that there's not going to be any change, then why do I need those values or principles? But how often are we in that situation?
And I guess what I'm still kind of looking for is, where have you seen Agile fully come alive? Like really be embraced as intended,
Well,
you know?
in my team-wise, my team is really good at it because I run a pretty good agile ship. But I know our support people, they're like, you're agile. Like, you don't need lots of documentation, and we can throw this thing into all the other things you're doing, and ta-da, it's done. But you only have capacity for certain things, and they're not talking about, what's valuable that doesn't get done now, right? So then agile's failing because they don't get all the things that they said they wanted, plus the things that they throw on that they want now. So I guess that would be a misinterpretation, misapplication, where they don't realize, where they need to respect the decisions made, right? The roadmap decisions that were made previously. And if that changes, well, some people don't get what they want. So
I think all you just did there was prove Reggie's point.
it's true. but in their minds, Agile did not accomplish the thing that they wanted.
I mean, yeah, like one of the values is responding to change. We're following a plan. And I have yet to see an organization that didn't just really hang its head on planning. Like quarterly planning is just a big thing, yearly planning, right? And yeah, some room to adapt inside that, but really the thing is the planning that they really think is like what's so critical. And I would argue that's not what Agile thinks is the most important thing, right? Yeah, do some planning, but really adapt to deliver that value that's most important.
Well, to your question a minute ago, Reggie, where have you seen it thrive? And I've got some examples I love to share, and only really, I guess a couple of them are in software, but a couple of them are not. But they're not, the software examples aren't even typical software, like new product, like developing a new mobile app or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like a system replacement, which, anytime I hear system replacement, even if it's software, I know what I'm hearing. It's waterfall, right? Hey, customer, we can't give you anything until we're able to give you everything you were used to previously, the feature parity and everything. I've seen that where a 2-year project, they actually turned off the old system and turned on the new system 6 months in because of that feedback loop of getting the highest value pieces in replaced, right? Or whether it's R&D, research and development, where, teams will spin and spend money month after month after year in the name of research, right? And instead turning that into every sprint in this case, right, is an experiment. It's a hypothesis driven experiment with tangible results to show and get feedback on. Or writing a book. I've got several books out in the market, and that's the approach we take, is a more adaptive and agile. Or whether it was my daughter applying for 9 colleges last fall and completely taking an iterative approach and getting to the end of that 7th application a week before November 1st when they're all due,
Yeah.
and saying, Dad, I'm done. Those last 2 colleges that were on my list, now that I know what I know, I'm not even interested anymore. Not lazy, just not interested anymore. Right. And that she ran out of value before she ran out of time or money. I mean, these are all.
Before she ran out of your money.
Right. I wasn't going to say it. But.
Yeah,
we're in that week right now. Yeah.
I think what we're hearing, and we're we're at about 15 minutes now, so we could go a smidge longer, but my vote or my belief is that there's no way Agile is dead. I think people are finally waking up to, oh, wait a second. We thought we could apply a magic formula to our work and it would fix everything. But that's not what Agile was ever intended to be. It was meant to help people reorient the way they do the work, not give them a magical step-by-step formula to do it. And I personally, bottom line for me is that's why people think it's dead, is because they think they've tried some magic formula that didn't work, rather than realizing that no, you're just adapting into a better and better way of doing your work. And as long as you're continuing to adapt, your Agile is still alive.
It's an art, not a science.
It's what?
It's an art, not a science.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's a people art, right? It's people centric.
I fully agree. Working in teams isn't going to go away. Delivering value early is not going to go away. Working iteratively, right? Start small, add to it. All this stuff is here to stay, and it's because it's valuable, right? What I hope goes away is some of the emphasis on process and tools and planning, and not goes away, but gets diminished, and a focus on. I mean, my mind was blown when I realized a Scrum Master was meant to be like this elite coach that could go to any level of an organization, any team, and just help them to better collaborate, to just thrive, find a way to improve and thrive, and not be the secretary, the clerk, or the boss, or any of those stances that are far less powerful. Because there's just so much power in that stuff, but we just don't see a lot of it. And so then I think when we see like mass layoffs of Agile coaches and Scrum Masters, clearly there's something missing. And I just think there's so much room to focus on what's really impactful and powerful there.
I'll just say it's probably obvious that the four of us are coming into this conversation a little biased, right? And so I would love to open this up another time with some more diverse opinions on this topic. But this is just a little introduction, wet the whistle, bring a conversation to you, and we would love to hear if you liked it, if you would like to see more of it, wherever this is going to be posted, whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube. If you have a way, post a response, say, hey, more, hey, I liked it, hey, stop it, whatever it might be. But I don't know, anything else to add from the three of you before we wrap this up?
Long live Agile.
I've made a fool of myself yet, so I'll stop here.
Long live it, and get better, Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
Thank you.